He forgot my birthday, stopped saying, "I love you," and left me alone even when we were in the same room. The loneliness became suffocating. Then one day, a man at the coffee shop noticed my tears and said, "You look like you need someone to talk to." I did. And I did again the next day. And the next. The day my husband finally looked at me and asked, "Why do you seem different?" I laughed because I finally feel alive. Then my phone rang, and he saw the name on the screen. His face went pale. I never thought I'd be the one sharing my story here, but life has a way of leading us down unexpected paths. I'm a 42-year-old woman, and for the sake of anonymity, let's call me Sarah. My husband, whom we'll refer to as David, is 45. We've been married for 18 years, living in a quiet suburb of Chicago. Our life together was stable, predictable, and, I believed, built on a solid foundation. David and I met during our college years. He was studying engineering, and I was immersed in literature. Our connection was immediate, and after graduation, we tied the knot. David secured a position at a reputable firm in the city, while I began teaching English at a local high school. We settled into our suburban life, sharing dreams of a future filled with love and mutual respect. However, as the years passed, the vibrancy of our relationship began to fade. David became increasingly consumed by his work, often leaving early and returning home late. Our conversations dwindled, reduced to discussions about household chores, bills, and the occasional news headline. The warmth and intimacy that once defined our marriage slowly eroded, leaving behind a cold, unspoken distance. I made efforts to bridge this growing gap. I suggested date nights, planned weekend getaways, and even tried to engage him in activities we once enjoyed together. But David always had reasons to decline. "Work's been hectic," he'd say, or "I'm too tired, maybe another time." Each rejection felt like a tiny fracture in the foundation of our marriage. Then came my 40th birthday, a milestone I had secretly hoped would reignite some spark between us. I envisioned a surprise dinner, perhaps a heartfelt note, or even just a simple acknowledgement of the day. But as the day unfolded, it became painfully clear that David had forgotten. No card, no flowers, not even a happy birthday. I spent the evening alone on the couch, while David sat across the room, engrossed in his laptop. The silence between us was deafening, and the loneliness I felt was overwhelming. In the weeks that followed, a profound sense of isolation settled over me. Our home, once filled with laughter and shared moments, now felt like a prison of solitude. I found myself retreating into my own world, seeking solace in books and long walks. It was during one of these walks that I stumbled upon a quaint coffee shop nestled between a bookstore and a florist. Drawn in by the inviting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, I decided to step inside. The coffee shop became my refuge. Each afternoon, after school, I would settle into a corner by the window, grading papers or losing myself in a novel. The gentle hum of conversations, the clinking of cups, and the soft background music provided a comforting backdrop to my solitary routine. One particularly dreary afternoon, as rain tapped against the window pane, I found myself unable to hold back the tears that had been threatening to spill over. They streamed down my face, blurring the words on the page before me. I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder and looked up to see a man standing beside my table. He appeared to be in his late 40s, with kind eyes and a warm, empathetic smile. "You look like you could use someone to talk to," he said softly. Embarrassed, I quickly wiped my tears and managed a weak smile. "It's been a rough day," I admitted. He nodded understandingly. "Mind if I join you?" I hesitated for a moment, but then gestured to the empty chair across from me. "Sure." As he settled into the chair, he extended his hand. "I'm Michael." "Sarah," I replied, shaking his hand. Our conversation began tentatively, with polite exchanges about the weather and the books we were reading. But as the minutes passed, I found myself opening up to Michael in a way I hadn't with anyone in years. I spoke of the growing distance between David and me, the loneliness that had become my constant companion, and the ache of feeling invisible in my own marriage. Michael listened intently, his eyes never leaving mine, offering words of comfort and understanding. He shared his own story, revealing that he had gone through a painful divorce a few years prior. His marriage had also suffered from neglect and emotional distance, leading to its eventual demise. There was an unspoken connection between us, a shared understanding of heartache and longing. Our meetings at the coffee shop became a regular occurrence. Each day, I looked forward to our conversations, to the warmth and attention that Michael provided. For the first time in years, I felt seen, heard, and valued. The lines between friendship and something more began to blur, but I didn't care. I was finally feeling alive. One evening, as I stood in the kitchen preparing dinner, David walked in and leaned against the counter, watching me intently. It was the first time in months that he had really looked at me. "Why do you seem different?" he asked, his brow furrowed. I paused, knife hovering over the cutting board, and met his gaze. A myriad of emotions swirled within me: anger, sadness, resentment. But beneath it all was a newfound confidence and clarity. "Because I finally feel alive," I replied, my voice steady. David's eyes widened in surprise, but before he could respond, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, and my heart skipped a beat. Michael's name flashed across the display. I saw David's expression change as he read the name, his face going pale. "Who's Michael?" he demanded, his voice tinged with suspicion. I took a deep breath, realizing that the moment of truth had arrived. I had a choice to make: to continue living in the shadows of a broken marriage or to embrace the possibility of happiness and fulfillment. "He's someone who reminded me of what it feels like to be appreciated," I said softly, meeting David's gaze head-on. The room was thick with tension as David processed my words. For the first time in years, we were forced to confront the reality of our fractured relationship. David didn't say anything at first. He just stood there, staring at my phone like it had physically hit him. His face was pale, his hands clenched at his sides. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but there was something cold underneath. "So this is what you've been doing?" he asked. "You're seeing someone?" I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure what he even wanted to hear. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to say. I wasn't cheating, not in the way most people think. I hadn't kissed Michael. I hadn't even touched his hand. But emotionally, I had left David months ago, maybe even years. "I've been talking to someone who listens to me," I said. "That's more than I've had at home." That lit something in him. His voice got louder. "You could have said something. You could have told me how you were feeling." I laughed bitterly. "I did, David. So many times. You just never heard me. You were always working, always tired. I was right in front of you, and you never even looked at me." He opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, but nothing came out. I turned back to chopping vegetables like the conversation was over, because in my mind, it was. That night, he didn't sleep in our bed. I heard him pacing downstairs until 3 a.m. The next morning, he left for work without saying a word. But the silence didn't last. 2 days later, he showed up at the coffee shop. I was sitting with Michael, like usual. We weren't doing anything scandalous. We were just drinking coffee and talking, but the second David walked in, the air shifted. Michael noticed him immediately. He leaned in, whispering, "Is that your husband?" I nodded, my stomach turning. David was already walking toward us. "Can we talk?" he asked, looking only at me. I excused myself and followed him outside. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He just looked broken. "I've been thinking about everything," he said. "I've been distant, yeah. I've been an asshole. But we can fix this. I want to fix this." I stared at him, stunned. It was the first time in years he had said anything about us, like we still mattered. Then he added something I didn't expect. "I made an appointment. For therapy. Couples counseling. I want to go. With you." For a second, I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream, "Why now? Why wait until another man gave me attention to finally care?" Another part of me, deep down, felt something crack. Not a good crack. A guilty one. Because despite everything, this was still the man I married. I didn't give him an answer right away. I told him I needed time. Over the next few days, Everything felt heavier. Michael noticed the change immediately. "You're pulling away," he said one afternoon. "I'm not trying to," I said. "It's just complicated." Michael nodded, but I could see the pain in his eyes. "Are you going back to him?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. The next twist came 2 weeks later. David and I had started going to therapy. Just 2 sessions. Nothing huge had changed, but we were talking more. He even came home early twice. Once, he brought takeout from my favorite Thai place. It felt strange. Like being with a ghost of someone I used to love. Then I got a text. It was from an unknown number. No name, just a photo. It was Michael, but not with me. He was with another woman. They were laughing. Her hand was on his knee. My heart sank. Then another text came, right after. "You're not the only one he's been comforting. Just thought you should know." I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. My hands were shaking. I felt sick. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. Not Michael. Not him. But I had no choice. That night, I didn't go to the coffee shop. I stayed home. I sat on the edge of the tub and cried like I hadn't cried in years. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was shame. I had opened myself up to someone, told him things I'd never told anyone, and now I felt stupid. Used. And yet, I still hadn't told David. Because how could I? He was trying now. Making an effort. For the first time in years, he was present. But everything was so tangled. My heart, my guilt, my shame. I didn't know who to be angry at, Michael for being a liar or myself for falling for it. The next time I saw Michael, he acted like nothing had happened. Same smile, same calm voice. I didn't confront him. I just said I was busy and I left. But the story wasn't done twisting. The very next day, David got a text too. From Michael. Yeah. Apparently, Michael knew who David was all along. In the message, he wrote, "Just so you know, your wife deserves better than what you gave her. Maybe if you'd said, 'I love you,' once in a while, she wouldn't have looked elsewhere." David showed me the text. He didn't say a word. He just handed me the phone, and I read it in silence. After a long pause, he said, "So it was more than talking." I didn't defend myself. I didn't even try. I just whispered I didn't sleep with him. But yes, it was more. David nodded once. Then he walked out the door. And I haven't seen him since. Now I'm sitting here, staring at the wall. I don't know where this ends. I don't know if my marriage is over. I don't know if Michael was real or just someone who wanted to feel powerful. All I know is I'm tired. I'm angry. And I'm more alone now than I was before any of this started. But I'm also not numb anymore. I feel everything now. I just don't know what to do with it. A week passed. David was still gone. He didn't say where he went. He didn't ask for anything. Not clothes, not mail, not even his work laptop. Just silence. The quiet in the house felt different now, not like loneliness, but like waiting. Like something was about to happen. I kept showing up to work, smiling at students, grading essays. I kept going through the motions because I didn't know what else to do. I stopped going to the coffee shop. I deleted Michael's number. But I couldn't delete the ache in my chest. I couldn't delete the mess. Then the phone rang. It was David's sister, Rachel. "We need to talk," she said, without even saying hello. I hadn't spoken to Rachel in almost a year. We weren't close, not because of any drama, just because life had drifted us apart. She lived in Milwaukee, about 2 hours away. But her tone now was sharp. Urgent. "Did you know about her?" she asked. My heart sank. "Know about who?" "Her name's Samantha," she said. "She's 29. And she works with David." I couldn't breathe. Rachel sighed on the other end, like she was putting pieces together while she spoke. I never wanted to get involved, but I saw some things on his Instagram that didn't sit right. I started looking. That girl? She's been liking every one of his posts for over a year. Commenting little hearts. At first I thought maybe it was nothing. But then I saw them together. My head was spinning. "Where?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Downtown. At a brunch spot." He wasn't hiding it. holding her hand, laughing. It didn't look like a secret. I sat down on the floor, cold tile against my knees. My hands were shaking again. Rachel went on. I confronted him. He didn't deny it. Said you two were basically over anyway. Said he felt like a stranger in his own home. Something inside me cracked. A part of me wanted to scream, but I couldn't even find the voice for it. So while I was sitting there, sobbing in a coffee shop, confessing my pain to a stranger named Michael, David was playing house with someone else. Someone a decade younger. Someone who smiled with emojis on Instagram. It all made sense now. Why he'd been so cold for so long. Why he worked late. Why he stopped saying I love you. Why he didn't remember my birthday. Because his attention was already somewhere else. The worst part? I still felt guilty for emotionally connecting with Michael. When the truth was David had checked out of our marriage before I even noticed I was alone in it. That night, I went through our shared photos. I saw our wedding picture. I saw us holding hands in Lake Geneva, snow falling all around us. I saw a younger version of myself smiling like she had everything figured out. I felt like I was staring at a stranger. Later that week, I got a letter in the mail. No name on the return address. Just a Chicago postmark. I opened it slowly. It was handwritten. Messy, rushed. One page. It was from Samantha. Yeah, the girl. She wrote, "You don't know me, but I know who you are. I didn't know he was married when we started seeing each other. He told me you were separated. He said the house was yours, and he was just crashing there while he figured things out. I'm sorry. I really am. I ended things with him. I felt like I needed to tell you." I read it 3 times. Then I threw up. So here I was, wrecked by one man who pretended to care and lied to by another who vowed to love me forever. I called Rachel. I got a letter, I told her. She came over that night, brought ice cream and red wine and hugged me like a sister should. We talked for hours. She told me more. Things I probably didn't want to know. David had been seeing Samantha for almost 9 months. He'd brought her to work events. Introduced her to friends. He made me feel crazy for pulling away while he was already living another life. Then came the twist I never saw coming. Rachel said, "You know that beach house Dad left him?" "Yeah." He put it in her name. I blinked. "What?" Rachel nodded. "Signed the deed over to her 2 months ago." I couldn't process it. He gave her the beach house. The same house where we spent our anniversaries. The same one where he told me he wanted kids one day. The same one I helped him paint, decorate, and clean every summer. He gave it away. To her. Suddenly, every little detail in my life felt like a lie. I started questioning everything. How many times had he looked me in the eye and told me, "I'm just tired," when he'd spent the night with her instead? How many times did he choose to humiliate me quietly while I begged him to love me again? I thought about texting Michael. I thought about getting revenge. I thought about slashing David's tires. Screaming at Samantha. Posting the screenshots. I had all the receipts. I could have made chaos. But instead, I just sat there. Completely hollow. Because none of it would fix what was broken inside me. The part that believed I wasn't enough. The part that stayed in a loveless marriage out of hope. Out of fear. Out of habit. Now, David was gone. Michael was a lie. Samantha was another victim of his charm. And me? I was standing in the ruins of the life I thought I had. But I'm still here. And I'm still figuring it out. It all came to a head 2 weeks later. I was at a PTA meeting at school when my phone buzzed over and over in my purse. Missed calls. Texts. One from Rachel. One from an unknown number. One from David. Something was wrong. I stepped out into the hallway and opened the messages. "Rachel, I'm sorry, but you need to get down to the beach house. Now." I didn't want to be part of this, but you deserve to see it for yourself. My heart dropped. I didn't even drive home first. I got in my car and went straight to the house 2 hours north, the one David and I had painted sky blue and filled with seashells from our trips. The one I thought was part of us. I parked halfway up the drive and saw 2 cars. One was David's. The other I didn't recognize. But I knew whose it was. I walked up to the front porch. My hands were shaking. My breath shallow. The door was open just a crack. I didn't knock. I stepped inside. Laughter. 2 wine glasses on the table. The sound of someone humming in the kitchen. Samantha's voice. And David's. I froze. I stood there in the living room we once filled with candles and old jazz records, watching my husband pour wine for another woman, like it was his normal Saturday. Like he didn't gut my heart just weeks earlier. She turned first. Her face went pale. David turned next. The room fell silent. "Sarah," he said, voice slow, surprised, like I was the one who didn't belong there. Samantha backed up like she'd seen a ghost. "I didn't know You gave her the house," I said, almost laughing. "You gave her our house." David's expression hardened. "It's not our house anymore." "You're right," I said. "Because I never would have turned our home into this." Samantha looked between us, panicked. "I thought you two were done. She's still my wife," I snapped. Then something in me cracked wide open. "Do you even feel anything, David?" For 18 years I waited. I stayed. I begged. I cried. And you didn't even remember my birthday. You couldn't look up from your laptop long enough to see I was drowning. And now? Now you're playing house with someone you met over a team lunch? And I'm supposed to walk away quietly. David's face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Regret? Anger? Embarrassment? "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," he said. "Bullshit," Rachel's voice said from the doorway. She had followed me. She walked in with that same fierce fire in her eyes, arms crossed. "You planned all of this, David. You wanted her to catch you. So you wouldn't have to say it. You wanted her to walk away and take the blame for the marriage ending. But you've been gone for years." Samantha whispered, "I need to go," and grabbed her purse, walking quickly out the door, brushing past Rachel without a word. Then it was just me, David, and a house full of ghosts. "You humiliated me," I said, my voice shaking now. "You made me feel like I was crazy, like I was the problem. You gaslit me. And I believed it." "I didn't know how to fix us," he said, finally. "It was easier to start over." "And that makes it okay?" I asked. "You think easy is what love is?" He looked at me like he finally understood what he had done. But it was too late. "I needed a partner," I said. "You needed a fan club." The silence that followed was heavier than any fight we'd ever had. Not rage, not yelling, just that deep, raw truth sitting between us, finally spoken aloud. David didn't fight back. He sat down on the couch, buried his face in his hands, and just sat there. I left. Rachel followed me out. The drive back was quiet. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't racing anymore. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't even angry. I was just done. Over the next few weeks, the divorce moved forward. Fast. David didn't contest anything. Maybe he knew he didn't have a leg to stand on. Maybe he just wanted to disappear into his new life. Michael tried to call. Once, I let it go to voicemail. He apologized. Said he made a mistake. Said he never meant to hurt me. But he did. And I wasn't going to give him another chance to do it again. At work, I started staying late again, but not to avoid home. I started tutoring students after hours. I joined a book club. I called my sister for the first time in months. I cried sometimes, yes. But I laughed too. Real laughter. The kind that comes when something is yours, not borrowed or forced. Some friends took sides. Some stayed quiet. Some said, "I never liked him anyway." Others said, "Are you sure it's the right decision?" But I didn't care anymore. Because I knew it was. One afternoon, I walked past a mirror and caught my own reflection, and I actually stopped. Not because I looked amazing, but because I recognized myself again. Not the wife. Not the woman who got cheated on. Not the one who sat crying in a coffee shop waiting for attention. Just me. Sarah. I still don't know exactly where I'm headed. I'm not sure if I'll fall in love again. I'm not sure if I want to. But I do know this, I'll never beg for love again. And I'll never settle for someone who only sees me when I'm already walking away. If you're reading this and you feel like you're slowly disappearing inside your own life, Like someone forgot how to love you. Please hear me when I say this. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You just deserve better. And you don't have to wait for permission to feel alive again.